Happy New Year from Minecraft. May your resolutions last longer than a wooden pickaxe. This is a pop-up that showed up exclusively on the Bedrock version of the game, but as Nicholas Vidot says, why are there Christmas chests? This ain't Java. And that's right, 18 seconds into 2026, Mojang has already made a parity mistake with a Bedrock-only image featuring a feature that is only on the Java edition of the game, this double Christmas chest in the right, as well as the red Christmas chests found all over the rest of the image. You can add this to the pile of cases where the Minecraft Bedrock staff actually play Java, but the interesting question of why it is that these chests don't exist on Bedrock is one that is worth asking, alongside when the next snapshot and beta for the 26.0 update will start to release, and of course, how did I get myself into drama over the Christmas period? Let's answer all of those questions and more today, because hello, I'm AbYXToyCat, and this is the Q&A Saturday, my favourite weekly series, and our first one of 2026, where we'll start by answering Alk's question, what is going to come this year? I hope it's vibrant visuals for Java finally, so that we won't have to use third-party shader packs anymore. Good news, Java getting vibrant visuals seemed like it was a distant dream when it first came out for Bedrock this year, but in October we got an update on the road to vibrant visuals on Java, and it looked very positive, but we got an even better piece of news when the 26.1 snapshot came out, and they made all of these changes to the light map algorithm. This means that the 26.1 snapshot is going to put in place the first pieces of infrastructure for vibrant visuals to be made possible on Java, much sooner than any of us expected. However, I think immediately after talking about 26.1, you can't help but get a question saying, wait, 26.1 snapshot 1, WTF? And yes, I totally agree, this is what we all have to get used to now. Mojang has some confusing version numbers, and yes, calling it snapshot 1 will be weird. It's going to be also weird calling it 26.0.3, but this is what we will be getting used to, and the big question is, when will we get the first snapshot and beta of this year? Dasher asked this question today, actually, and so here's the answer I can say for sure. When we get our first snapshot and beta, it will be a big one. This is something we can kind of say by looking at last year's first drop. The Spring to Life drop all came out in the first beta of that year, and I made the mistake of going on some January travel plans because it used to be Mojang did nothing in January, but this year it is very likely we see the opposite and we get a big wave of our first drop features. And as exciting as that is, I think it's important to answer the question of will it be next week with a probably, because ultimately the Bedrock team, the team based in the US, tend to take slightly shorter holiday breaks than the Java team based in Sweden, and so I would expect that a beta next Tuesday is entirely likely, but I think we have to be aware of the fact that we don't officially get an update on when these snapshots and betas are coming out, besides probably on Tuesday, probably at 5 PM, but also that's dependent on if the team are in the office, and so will there be a snapshot and beta? The firm answer is probably, I guess, and it's annoying we can't say any more, but what I would say is be excited for some potentially big features, unless they're going for a smaller kind of fixing things up drop, but we haven't seen one of those in over a year, and so I wouldn't expect to see it right here, but keep your eyes peeled, I know I will be. Speaking of keeping my eyes peeled, I do have to say that it was funny, this Happy New Year message from Minecraft, because it was one that was genuinely quite positive, but I have something weird I don't think anyone else has found I'd like to share with you, because this is what the pop-up message looked like on my PC. It's the standard Minecraft pop-up that we get all of the time saying dismiss or X with the image in the middle, but then I decided to load up the game later on my Xbox, sorry for my phone screenshot here, and as you can see it looks entirely different. The same New Year's message has a bigger image, and then the text is on the right, and then there's no dismiss button, just an X in the corner. I posted this to Twitter, and about half of people say, yeah, this is how it looked to me, and I also saw someone saying, wait, they don't even have parity across Bedrock platforms, but yes, this is what it looks like if you play on certain platforms, but why are they A/B testing it? This is something that they've never officially announced, but I would theorize this is either part of the move to All UI, I think it looks a little bit better in the new design, or the lack of a dismiss button means that if they have something to promote, instead of saying you can get rid of it here, you have to go into the X in the corner, just like we were talking about. It could be the sign of something coming to Minecraft, and it's a shame that we can't just say cool design without saying, oh, I guess it's part of a dark pattern, because it does seem as though a lot of improvements at Mojang need to be made with the implicit assumption that they will get more sales, and I hope that that isn't what this is. But speaking of things I hope this isn't, I got the really interesting question, which is like, okay, not that I care, but why aren't Christmas chests in parity on Bedrock? It couldn't be simpler to fix. And like, yeah, it's the simplest thing to add. It's a texture they already made. So why is it so hard to add features to Minecraft now? I think is an interesting thing to discuss for a second here, because this would be so simple to add, and it was in 2010. They just changed the texture on a day of the year, but now you have to, before deciding to add the feature, you have to have a committee with other people. You have to make sure that everyone's in agreement about how these features should be added. Then you have to agree how you're going to implement it before you do so. Then you add it to the game, and it has to be rigorously QA tested. Make sure it doesn't show up on the wrong days, make sure it works with the right textures. Then you also have to have the discussions about how will this work in the future. Obviously, adding the chest was a great idea, but many Java players were upset that the copper chest didn't have its own texture, and so do you have to support this for every chest going forwards, or do you make those textures now? Do you make them in the future? All of these questions are ones that are valid to ask in a big organization, because it's very hard to make sure things move in the right direction, but this is one of the big reasons why big companies move slower than small companies, and why it is that literally the same game 15 years ago could easily add a feature that nowadays just isn't even worth considering because they've got so many other bigger projects which keep up their focus instead. It is hard to get a lot done at a big company, especially as an individual, and especially when there are so many priorities that are just bigger than the thing you want to do. Take, for example, this interesting question from Brain Decay about the opposite example. Why are they always fixing the cool bugs in Bedrock, but they keep them in Java? Java has building on the nether, TNT duping, and we get a cool bug on Bedrock that's immediately fixed. I mean, there's a great example of this came out over the Christmas period. Dave Kratzy found that the spear revolutionized the Minecraft TNT cannon industry, and just watch this. It is incredible. I want to destroy woodland mansions from a distance like this. However, despite this looking incredible, I loaded up Minecraft, and it didn't work because, fun fact, Bedrock and Java, not the same game, and so even though they just got the same feature and the same update, nope, that doesn't mean you can do the same things with it. Parity could be seen as a bigger priority, especially for the other 363 days of the year, and so is that what they're going for? It's hard to say because the priorities aren't always publicly stated, but this is something that I really think about whenever it seems like there is an easy change. It takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of work that is seen as super crucial, and so is this the fault of the managers? Yeah, I've been saying that forever. Rather than blaming developers like some people like to do, some people always will hate on the Slice Slimes or whoever of the world who are actually communicating with us. I think it's the manager's fault if they're not getting the right things out of their people, and that's why Katie Scott is not necessarily a bad hire. I know I'm a contrarian, but I'll die on the hill that like the thing that is important is actually getting your goals out of people, and the thing that we can disagree on is what are those goals going to be? Is Mojang going to skew gameplay in favor of better monetization? I hope not, and I think that as Redeems Dunsworthy still says, is Jeb still in charge? Yes. If Jeb is still in charge of the game, I highly doubt that we're going to see anything too crazy. The things people have been stating is like marketplaces on Java, or what if you had the option when you die to pay a bit of money to revive yourself. I don't think any of those things are going to come into the game while Jeb is at the helm. And if somehow either of those things happens anyway, then like I'll eat my hat or I'll eat my words. I'll eat my hat and my words at the same time. I don't know what that means, but I will do it, okay? Because I know it's not going to happen. Speaking of things that aren't going to happen, I'm so glad I got this comment. I need to just take a moment and say, Boris Belodius, you feel my soul right here, because in my worst ideas video, I did a little bit of creative building, and I was spending forever trying to work out how do I place a bunch of string in the air, because string isn't called string in the creative menu, it's called tripwire. This is a silly fact and I hate it, and now you know. Thank you, this is just my own little personal hate. But speaking of personal hate, I got a message from the World Foundry on Twitter on Christmas Eve of all days saying, rage farming IBX Toycat, really? So World Foundry are the people who made the add-on that I said is a little bit crazy, the idea that you can just have free diamond tools the moment you spawn into a world, and I said this shouldn't be considered legit survival if keep inventory is not. And my response to them was, well, this video is a complaint at Mojang, not at you. Obviously, you can make your own add-ons, and I think people are welcome to enjoy them, but I think that a diamond pickaxe is not less cheating than just turning off phantoms. I think that keep inventory is less of a cheat than a free diamond, shovel at spawn, and so that was my argument. But their response back to me was a really interesting one. It was from the Celeste team member saying that, yeah, they actually specifically made sure that even when you use the assist mode, you're still going to get achievements, and this is something that was controversial there. But I would say they still missed my point entirely. And by the way, this was Christmas, so I had to make sure to drop them a Merry Christmas message. Apologies for them seeing that at this time of year. But I did have to say, like, this is missing the point that, like, yes, if we believe that diamond pickaxes should be added to the game and you should still earn achievements, then you should be actively pushing for all of those other things to also earn achievements. But I would say that there needs to be a line drawn somewhere, and right now Mojang has drawn that line wrong. Keep inventory is cheating, free diamond tools are not. Turning phantoms off is cheating. Adding cars or dragons is not. It just feels to me as though there should be some review of this, or if you're going to say, nope, all add-ons ever should never disable achievements, then first of all, why does that happen when they're off the marketplace? And second of all, then it's just saying, okay, let's devalue the concept of achievements, which I know is a controversial start. A lot of people would say, like, no, you've beat a game whether you do it on easy and hard, and that is true. But have you beat a game if you do it with cheats enabled? That is where I would draw the line, and what is and isn't a cheat is really hard to say, but I would definitely say that free diamond tool, the gameplay loop of diamond tools is meant to be, you find diamonds, you get these incredible tools. If having free diamond tools is an option, I do worry that, like, yeah, that's not really the same as a no-cheat survival. And that, you can say that you should still earn achievements, but I think there should be a flag on your world being like, yes, I used add-ons that did this thing, just so that players who actually want to go out and mine diamonds don't feel like their work is devalued. It's an eternal struggle in the world of video games, because what someone else does doesn't affect you, but weirdly, we are social animals, and so it kind of does, right? Speaking of things that kind of does, the crab claw would ruin Minecraft PvP. It wouldn't even matter that you have a shield, totem, or whatever, because they'll always outreach you if you don't have a crab claw right there and ready. Well, fun fact actually, Minecraft just added the crab claw to PvP. You might have heard of it. It's called the spear, and apparently it didn't actually ruin things. But yeah, I've got another interesting question here from Sebastian Mailbox. Who made the art for your Creo card? I'm curious about who the artist is. So here's the interesting thing. There are lots of, like places out there that are like, yeah, here's some great AI art that we can make you. But I decided to work with an actual human artist for the Creo card, and to correctly credit them, if you look on the design, you'll see their name is right there below mine. This is something that is important, and I think that the fun thing about here, again, a lot of people like to make a really emotive point about AI design, but I'll simply make this argument. I think the AI art is just not as good as human art. I think it's really good for situations where you need to make something that no one really cares about viewing, but if you're trying to make something that is good, if you're trying to make something that has passion and soul, and I just think there is no replacement for a human, especially a well-trained human artist, and Oxy was really good at that. I think that even if you dislike this thing that we made, I've got a couple of hate comments about it, being like, oh, Toy Cat, it's a little bit furry, isn't it? And I can only try and express that I don't think that's true, but I will say that, like, yeah, I love that this is a really cool piece of artwork, and that's why I think the IBX Toy Cat Collector's Edition card is such a cool little thing. By the way, there's just a week left to get your hands on these. They will be all personally signed by me, but if you want to be the most efficient person out there, then you might want to get it next Saturday. I would prefer you got it before then, but I'll be doing a stream where every card bought gets something fun to happen, because as you know, there are huge costs to setting something like this up, including paying the artists, which we did up front, but that means that we actually only break into the break even very shortly from now, so I think doing a big stream to promote it is going to be important, because for me, this has been like a real knife edge thing, like, oh, are we actually gonna like break even on this? And so hitting that point is nice, but I'd like to make it a little bit further into there, which is why next Saturday a fun pay to win stream will be happening. Speaking of pay to win and streams, I got a really interesting comment here from Drime YT. Bro didn't do Bangladesh, and I'd just like to point out, Bangladesh didn't do me. So many people have been enjoying the country Minecraft seed things, but not realizing that, like, yeah, I picked the 16 countries that are viewing my channel the most, but what's the deal with all of the other channels? If you want your country to be featured in a future video, just start watching my videos more. That is terrible advice, because you are probably one person, but still, you can do better. I know you can. Speaking of things you can do better at, Pout makes a really interesting point about from my Minecraft Boomer video that lots of things have gotten worse, and although all of these are great points, I'd like to really zoom in on the fact that, like, yeah, we've lost so many world types, not just on Java, where Custom Superflat and Amplified left Bedrock, left the console versions, not just where Custom World left Java, but also we lost the old world type on Bedrock. It's weird that we are seeing this world world where so many new features are being prioritized, but loads of old features still haven't been added, both in terms of like, yeah, the Christmas chests still aren't on Bedrock, but also literally features that used to exist on Bedrock or console still aren't on Bedrock on console today. I would love if you could make a brand new classic world, and without the timeless adventures, which I love and I'm glad exists, I think for the majority of players, it just isn't something that is there, and that is something that is really sad, I fear. Anyway, with that said, I think that the last thing I want to talk about in this video is kind of a callback to the 26.1 update, because this will be the first drop of the year. Obviously, we're going to be calling it the beta 26.0, but that'll be our first little bug fix. The 26.1 drop for Bedrock will be our first big change, and I know so many people are asking me like, so Toycat, what do you think? I don't think this will be a small one. I think that we're about to see a big beta, and I'm incredibly excited to be here in the UK with my recording setup to actually record it, but I'm also really excited to see what theme they're going to take, because genuinely I meant it when I said the first year of drops could have been them finding their feet, or it could be that that's them finishing a lot of long-term initiatives and it's all downhill from here. I obviously hope for the first. I'm always aware of the latter's existence, but what do you think? I personally am of the belief that this is going to be a better year for drops than before. I am personally believing that this is going to be a year where at least one of the drops really knocks it out of the park, and is it going to be the year where we finally get something big we've been wanting forever? I think so. But maybe I'm just trying to be clever. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the... leave your predictions for the first drop down below. And I hope you all enjoyed this video, because I'll see you next time. Goodbye.